Hey, I am your fan. There's a fan in each of us. Once in our life, we find our passion, an activity with which we feel endlessly comfortable, like in a warm bath. And who says that all our dreams and fantasies hidden away can't become reality one day? How our desires can lead us on our own path to happiness, and how our idol becomes a reflection of ourselves or can make us a better person. This is what this story is about. Being gifted or talented is a blessing for some and a curse for others. This is also the case for this unlikely middle-aged couple, the rock star in America and the broken artist from Swabia. She adores him and initially feels inspired by his music as a fan. Unfortunately, she is unsuccessful as a painter herself. She struggles with bipolar disorder and finds herself in unstable circumstances. While he can hardly save himself from his millions of female fans. But he finally comes to the realization that he wants to drop his rocker attitude and stop drinking. The two meet in a chat room during the pandemic and get to know each other by chance. After the first conversation, they both could not believe the other truly exists. Past experiences caused them both to assume the worst and not trust the existence of the other. They both expected this connection to be a catfish situation. At first, it takes a lot of effort for them to confide in each other. But at some point, neither of them seems to care who the other person really is. Both feel lonely and comforted by the other's messages. It becomes a fierce internet flirtation that ends abruptly. They both realize they have a lot to change still in their real lives before they can fall in love and end up losing interest in the virtual world. The American musician decides to focus only on music and not anymore on drinking and sexual affairs. He has the self-realization that only he himself can be the change he wants to see in his life. He begins to take responsibility for himself and his life at home. His song lyrics become deeper. He also finds energy to create a new business. He creates his own laundry detergent. He starts to donate a large part of his proceeds to charity. The Swabian artist finally decides to free herself from all toxic relationships in her life. She starts therapy and regularly takes medication. She uses the internet to find a job and finally escapes the social support system. Finally, she opens her very first exhibition at a municipal gallery. After these successes, the difficult time caused by the pandemic, she finds an offer on the internet to take part in a concert tour in the USA with her star. She thinks about what it would be like to actually meet her idol and be able to tell him in person, "Hey, I am your fan." She has a lot of doubts about whether she really can do this, especially as she still doesn't quite believe that she could actually meet him and if he ever truly existed as a chat partner. She hopes that her admirer actually exists and didn't just exist in her mind. The one who complimented her, the one who told her she was beautiful when she saw her photos, the one who laughed out loud, LOL, when she asked him what a PE was, which ended up referring to his personal assistant, who apparently did some research on her when they first met. She tried to explain to him that she only had a few followers because of years of isolation and self-protection. She even told him what illness she had. She was a little ashamed, but she hoped he could somehow understand. Everything seemed so comfortable, even from the beginning. Nevertheless, he laughed about the clips she sent to him. It was a little beetle on forest path ground. He found him funny, this little fellow she had sent him on video. And he thanked her for the pictures she had painted of him, the portraits. He noticed her admiration, but she was insecure about it because many ladies adored him. And although she had hated English at school, she tried hard not to make any mistakes in the language. Everything seemed to come easily to her. She revealed a lot about herself. And every time he didn't respond straight away, she worried that she had overdone it. On the other hand, it became too suspicious for her if he contacted her too often. She hoped he would, but she could never be sure whether it was really her star. Either way, she was grateful for the hope, confidence, and comfort that his music had already given her. She recognized his music as a gift. It created a world in which she could feel at ease and draw strength from. She wanted to bathe in it. And that was precisely why it was almost impossible to imagine that this multi-talented and highly sought-after man had time for her. That's why she started to contact him less and less often, and not to overload him with all her attention. She was critical and reflective enough to question her own behavior. In the end, she stopped writing to him at all because she wondered what he could appreciate about her apart from how she looked. Her pictures were mediocre, and there was now a huge gap in her CV. She was living a life on the sidelines while he sang about the last train home. But even she stopped contacting him. She kept noticing through social media and messages there was synchronicities in both their lives that struck her as curious. This curiosity kept her alive that perhaps one day she could get to know him in person. The idea of taking part in the concert tour, after all, caused memories and feelings to come flooding back. She was so confused that she didn't know whether she should ask her therapist for advice. She had never told anyone about her secret chat, but mainly because she was embarrassed. What if it was only a catfish? But on the other hand, what did she have to lose? Even if her secret chat partner didn't exist, she was still his fan. What's more, she would now have the chance for the first time to introduce herself to him in person and tell him about the story, and maybe he would listen. Maybe he would just give an autograph. In any case, she would finally hear his music live. An unforgettable experience that would be probably worth the fun. Perhaps she could even take photos to inspire some new paintings. In any case, it would be worth a while, she thought, and pressed the button to pay. Now there was no going back. She had done it. She was one step closer to her dream of meeting her idol. And what carried her the most was not the plane that took her to LA. No, it was her self-confidence and trust in herself. She could not only afford it financially, but also mentally, to take this trip, and was suddenly very proud. The feeling at that moment of having nothing to lose was priceless. This made her shine. We will never know whether her rock star noticed his from a distance, because stars don't shine in the sky. They can also be the hundreds or thousands of cell phones shining in the dark concert hall. How are you supposed to know if you haven't been chat partner in one of these lights? How spectacular. Annika Prinz, 2022.